Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be doing an introduction into spreadsheets, and we're going to be creating a budget document to help us track our spending and see how much money we're spending in different categories. What I've put together for you is a month's worth of purchases here. And this is the kind of thing that you can download from your bank usually and drop it into a spreadsheet to be able to kind of analyze your purchases. So to start with, we need to make this, actually before we get too far into it, let's just talk some basic spreadsheet stuff. So first of all, a spreadsheet is a big data table. So it's got all these little squares in it, these little rectangles, they're called cells. Each cell has an address. So for example, this cell here would be addressed, or it would be called cell C10. So you start with the letter of the column it's in, and then you follow that with the row number. So cell C10 is this one. So this cell is C14, and this cell is B6. You would never call it 6B. We always start with the column first, and then the row. All right, so that's the basic cell structure of it. The cells go on really far. They stop here at Z, but if you actually go over one more, it'll be AA next, and then AB, AC, AD. They can just keep going for a really long time if you need more. And they go to really high numbers at the bottom as well. So these spreadsheets can get really big. We'll actually build one in the class that use 400 rows. So it's really cool. All right, so then the next thing we want to look at are the sheets. So a spreadsheet can have multiple sheets in it. So if I come down here and hit a plus sign here, it's going to add a sheet. It'll add sheet 2. Sheet 2 is just it's like another page. So it's just another blank spreadsheet that you can use. If I come back here, notice that these are all for 10. So this is all on October 1. So I'm actually going to double click on sheet 1 and change the name to October. You do the same. We can actually create a sheet down here for each month and keep track of our spending over time if we want to. All right, next thing we want to do is make this a little easier to read. When we first put our data in, notice how this is like propane. It looks like it's cut off here. So what I want to do is I want to open up this column a little bit so I can see it. So to do that, I'm going to go in between columns B and C. I get this double-sided arrow. I can make the column wider or more narrow. And I can just keep going until I get out to something where I think I have them all in there. Now, a quicker way of doing this, instead of trying to guess how big it's supposed to be, if you go between B and C when you get that double-sided arrow, if you double-click, it'll auto-adjust the width and make it the perfect width to barely fit everything. Sometimes it's nice to do that and then give it a little extra width. So I'm going to do the same thing between A and B. I'm going to double-click and then give it a little bit of extra width. Same thing for the amounts between C and D. Double click and then give it a little extra width. All right, so far that's good. We have the date of our purchases that we got from our bank or from our receipts, so we typed it in ourselves. We have a description of the purchase. If you get this from the bank, it's not going to be very detailed. So you have to be able to figure out kind of what you purchased based on the name of the store you bought it from. And then the amount here, that will be from our bank as well. And then here, we're going to create a new column called category. So I'm going to click on cell D1 and type category in. And this is where we're going to go through and decide what we're going to call each purchase. That could be, okay, this is for, I don't know, clothing or whatever your categories are. I don't want to have too many categories defined for you. All right. Next, let's go down to the bottom of the table. And one of the things we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add up all of the money we spent here. So over here, I'm going to just type in the word total, hit enter. So that's for me, that's cell B46. It should be for you as well. B46 has the word total in it. Then I'm just going to make that total right justified. So just like all other documents, you can come up here and change the justification and make it on the right-hand side. And then in here, I want to be able to add up all these numbers. I don't want to pull a calculator out and add them up. I want to have the computer do it for me. It's the beauty of a spreadsheet. So when we want the computer to do math, we've got to start off with an equal sign. That equal sign tells the computer, hey, I want to do some math next. Now, if you notice, it's going to take a guess at what it thinks you might want to do. If you put an equal sign at the bottom of a long list of numbers, it thinks you want to add them all up, which we do. And the formula for that is just what's on the screen. It's sum, S-U-M, and then parentheses. So sum means add things up. So the sum of something is the adding of them. And then what I want to do is I'm going to click sum, close parentheses, and then I can just highlight the things I want to have added. In this case, I'm really recreating the thing it wanted to put for me. Like it guessed correctly what I wanted, but I want to show you how to do that. So sum, parentheses, and then highlight all the things you want added together, and then close your parentheses, and then hit enter. When you do that, it totals up all the money we spent this much, $5,428.49. If I click on this cell, I see the answer to the math problem. Up here in the formula row is where the actual equation is. So I can come up here and I can adjust the equation if I need to. And so this is how this works. So C2 tells you the cell you're starting in. So if I come up here, I can see C2 is this cell right here. Colon means extending to. So from cell C2 down to cell C45, and down here is cell C45. So the colon means everything in between there as well. So we're taking the sum, the addition of C2 to C45. Pretty cool, it did that fast. Now all of these are dollars, so we can actually format this column to be dollars. To do that, and there's one on here that's already a dollar. To do that, I can go through and type all the dollars in, or even easier, I can click on the column heading C here, and then I can use the dollar formatting, format as currency, and click on that, and it'll adjust everything to dollars. And notice how my rent, it added a 0.00 to it to make it consistent with all the rest of them. All right, and then down here, now I can see it's $5,428.49. That's how much money I spent. All right, next thing I want to do is I want to add some borders to my table. So right now where you see all these gray lines, if you were to print this on a piece of paper, those gray lines wouldn't be printed. They're just there for like you to see when you're working on the computer. To be able to make them visible, I'm going to highlight them all the way down to the bottom of the table. I want to make sure I have my that column D because that's my category column. I'll fill that in later. And I'm just going to add all borders in. And now if I print this ever, I would have those borders there. It makes it a little easier to see. Next thing I want to do is it can be kind of hard to keep track of what row I'm on. So I'm going to highlight the table again. And this time, instead of highlighting from top to bottom, when I highlight cell A1 and pull down, sometimes I overshoot by a lot. I'm like, oh, so frustrating. So one thing you can do if that's happening to you is come down to the bottom of the table first and then highlight from the bottom right. So click on D46 and then highlight all the way up. That way you can't overshoot. Once I have my table highlighted, I can do this really cool formatting trick. You go to the format drop-down menu and do alternating colors. What that does is it sets up alternating colors for the rows, and you can choose over here all the different kind of styles and colors you can choose. You can also add your own custom colors in there. Just make sure that you're choosing something that can be easily read. I'm going to choose the gold one, school colors. That'll be fun. And when I click off, you can see what it did. It just made one white and the other one a very light color, and now it's easier to kind of track with your eyes straight across this way. All right, so far so good. We're doing really well. Let's bold some stuff. I'm going to bold this bottom one, Control B. And I don't know that I don't need a date here, so I'm going to actually highlight these two cells here. So cell A46 and B46. And there's this cool feature called merge cells that's up here. So find this sort of inward pointing arrows. Click on that. It'll combine those two cells together so you don't have this weird little extra cell there. Neat little trick. Okay. Let's make the column headings bold, and then let's get down to business. All right, so now here's one of the first tasks you have to do. What I'm going to do, what I want you to do is read through all of these different things and start seeing if you can make sense of what they're for. If there's one of them on here where you're like, I'm not sure what they're buying, then ask and I can help you. Maybe your friends can help you as well. But then you're going to come here and you're going to create categories for each one. So for example, I don't want to give too many examples away. I don't want to tell you how to do it. So yeah, if you have a question about how to do it, let me know. I'll help you figure it out. But you're going to create a category for the purchases. You don't want a different category for each purchase. The idea is to start grouping the purchases into similar stuff. So if it's a bunch of things like groceries, so you're like, okay, I'm going to put this in groceries, this and then this in groceries. Put groceries for each one. Make sure to spell it the same way for each one, the word groceries, because we're going to use this category to organize stuff. And just come up with some categories. You probably want no more than like maybe 5 or 6 different categories, maybe fewer, maybe a little more, depending on what you see there. All right, good luck. Go through and type them in. So you're going to type in, like, if I found this first one, so there's a Safeway one here. I'm going to assume that's groceries. I might type in groceries. And then just go through the whole table, get all the categories done. When you do, start the next video. Good job so far.